Hi, I'm Chance Bear. I'm a chef at Lincoln House in Cazenovia. The show's called Cooking by Chance. I've got some buddies joining me today in the studio. I've got Matthew and Matthew. So it's easy to remember. I don't have a great memory. So today for you, I'm going to be making a seared scallop with a Calabrian chili aioli, fried wontons, as well as some seared beef tenderloin with some homemade alkali noodles, fresh veggies, and a sweet and spicy sauce. And to finish it all off, we're gonna do a rosewater ice cream with a kicked up peach melba sauce, which is raspberries, Calabrian chilies, and then we're gonna finish it off with a little bit of whipped cream. So thanks for stopping by, and the show is Cooking by Chance. So my buddies finally showed up, so let's get cooking. So fellas, today we're gonna give you seared scallop with a little bit of fried wontons and topped with a little bit of nori. And I'm also gonna be making Calabrian chili aioli. So.
And what's a aioli?
An aioli is basically like a mayonnaise. So, a little salt, a little white pepper. So the key to a good sear is you want a super hot pan. Lay your scallop as flat as possible. You want to sear it for a while, so like both sides get brown.
Okay.
And even though you might want to touch them, it's best not to touch them at all.
And you just season one side?
I season one side to start. That's the sear side.
All right.
And then as cooking progresses, I'll slowly season the other. And so now I'm going to cut up some wontons. So these are nice little wonton wrappers. It is basically like flour, hot water. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to be fancy, I'm going to cut them into strips. And the idea is I want to make like a little nest. So I want to kind of plate them up in a bowl, make a little nest, give you a little dollop of this aioli. So we've been searing now for about 45 seconds. We'll set this aside and then we'll start working on our aioli. So what I like to use for aiolis is egg yolks. So we'll do 2 egg yolks, about half a tablespoon of mustard. So this is the good stuff. That's the white wine Dijon mustard. And so we'll put a lid on. Get that out. Take our little top off, and we're going to pour oil in. And vinegar. So I'm using rice wine vinegar because of the nori. It has a little bit of Asian flavor. So it's starting to come together. Now let's check our scallops.
And when you cook this aioli, it's essentially raw, correct, with the egg?
Yeah, but you're looking for the vinegar to actually do the cooking of your egg.
Okay.
So it's like making a hollandaise sauce, but with like vinegar as opposed to.
Okay.
So it's starting to look pretty good here.
How far along do you cook the scallops?
You want to serve them about medium rare. So maybe like 2 minutes total cook time. Let's get this cracking a little bit more.
They smell really good.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
So like I said, I want to be fancy, so I'm going to serve them in bowls. So while the scallops are searing, I'm going to take a side of this pan and slowly sprinkle these wonton strips in. We're going to try and form a little bit of a nest as we do cook along. But I'm going to kind of stir them up so that way all sides get cooked.
And what's like the basis of a wonton?
Basis of a wonton is flour and water.
Oh, really? Okay.
Typically you use like hot water because hot water stretches the gluten and you're able to roll it super, super thin and make it still pliable. All right, so scallops are about medium rare.
How do you know that?
Just by sight. You see a little slight opaqueness on the side of it. Opaque's a big word for me, so I practice that. All right, so our little nests are moving along pretty good. Again, it's kind of a constant playing with them. And then all right, so next, what I'm gonna add to our aioli is gonna be a little bit of Calabrian chili hot sauce. So this chili is grown in Italy, in Calabrian region of Italy. But they're known for their smokiness, subtle sweetness, and their spiciness. So I add a little bit of the hot sauce, and I have a little bit of the chilies themselves. They're super tasty, probably my new favorite chili of all time. And I'm not a usually huge spice guy, but these are fantastic. So we're like nice and syrupy with our aioli, and our wontons are almost done. I'm gonna call these guys done. I'm gonna place them right here at the bottom. Now with wontons, I do like a little bit of color contrast, so I like to cook some like crispy, well done, and then some nice softer ones like in the middle. Just for me, it's kind of aesthetically pleasing.
And they incorporate whatever you cook them in, essentially, like taste-wise?
It's essentially like pasta.
Okay.
Like, you know, when you get like wonton dumplings or something like that, steamed dumplings, typically you use like this. They're actually pretty fun to make on your own too.
Okay.
So, all right, so let's do a little scallop right here in the middle. And what I did ahead of time is I cut up a little bit of nori. So nori is roasted seaweed that's pressed into a paper form. It's super flavorful. Want to try?
Yeah.
So super flavorful. It's got a little bit of smokiness to it. Got a little bit of umami, a little kick to it.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
we're gonna top our little saucy aioli on our scallop. A little bit of Calabrian chili just for fun.
Now, how hot is this chili?
It's subtle. It's spicy enough that you know it's there, but it's sweet enough to make it palatable. We'll top it off with a little bit of this toasted nori.
I'm excited.
All right, so there we go. Something quick, something super simple. Seared scallops with a little bit of toasted wontons, Calabrian chili aioli. Served it up to our guests. Unfortunately, one of my buddies is allergic to scallops, so such is life. So this guy gets the benefit. So yeah, so there'll be like some sweetness, a little bit of spiciness to it, a little crunch for texture. And again, it's really, really easy to make. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, because I'm not a rocket scientist myself. That's why I cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the seafood aspect, and then the aftertaste of the chilies again.
And the scallops, good fresh scallops. Like these are size U15s, which means there's about 15 scallops per pound. So they're pretty good size. And they sear great, but they have such a like subtle sweetness to them.
Yeah.
It is like just fun to eat. I love scallops.
Yeah, I think the sweet with the aioli, and then followed by a little bit of spice and a little hit of that seaweed is very good.
Yeah, so that's our scallops. And we'll be back with our seared tenderloin dish with alkali noodles. All right, we're back, and we are gonna make a little bit of alkali noodle, which is a really super easy way to make pasta. You don't have to like crack eggs or anything, but you have some room temperature water, baking soda. Combine the two. Give her a good stir to make sure all of those water molecules line up with the baking soda. Probably about 2.5 cups of flour. And then combine. So I like to add a little bit of water at a time, and I'll work the dough a little bit,
Okay.
just to make sure, and I always use my hands, but just to make sure it pulls together.
So you're measuring properly.
Yes.
Come from years of experience. You
This
know what
is,
it's done.
I do, yes. But if you're making this at home, you want it to be, it's starting to come together as a dough, but you want it to be like not sticky, but firm at the same time.
And say I make it over sticky or too much water, how do I fix that?
You don't, that's why you add it a little bit at a time.
Okay.
Because kind of if you add too much water, then, you know, if you continue to add flour and stuff, you're not going to get the best texture of noodle.
Okay.
So, but the reason why I choose alkali noodles is because the way you work the dough, it gets like super stretchy, and those glutens are like really bouncy. So if you think of like just a good ramen dish, a lot of times it'll be like an alkali noodle.
Okay.
So I think this noodle, once it cooks, it'll be like slightly yellow just because of the reaction of the baking soda or bicarbonate to the flour. All right, so we're starting to come together here. So I'll take it out, then I'll just work with it. So we're still looking for that slightly tackiness.
And where are alkaline noodles like originated from, cuisine-wise?
Let's see, off the top of my head, I think alkaline noodles are from the 17th century in China.
Okay. They're versatile and easy to make.
Versatile, easy to make, and limited ingredients, and you don't have something that'll go bad.
Okay.
Because you don't necessarily have eggs on hand all the time, or you're super hungry and all you have is flour and water.
100%.
And so this will also be like a vegan pasta. Okay. So if you have vegan friends, which I do, you can actually make them some decent pasta without having to worry about eggs.
Okay. And when you make this, does it just have to be like ramen noodle form, or can it be like different types of pastas?
It can be different types of pasta, because what I'm doing is I'm going to hand cut them.
Okay.
Because I want like a slightly thicker, more like dumpling noodles.
Okay.
So yeah, look at that. So you could feel it. It's like
Yeah.
not sticky, but still just nice and firm.
And this is kneading, correct?
This is
What you're
kneading,
doing?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And what does that do for the pasta?
You work, the glutens get worked up and stretched and pulled.
Okay.
And you incorporate all your ingredients to it. But as we work it, it just like gets firmer. So you want that bounce in your noodles.
Okay.
And you don't necessarily have to work it forever. You just kind of want it to come together to make like this. So you'll have like a little bit of like porousness to it.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna call that good. So I like to work in smaller portions. So I'll flour the outside of my rolling pin a little bit. And so the sauce that we're gonna make with this, it's gonna be like a sweet and spicy soy. So again, we're gonna be using the Calabrian chilies just to kind of show the versatility of the chili. It's like I said, currently one of my favorites. So you see that I broke it down into kind of almost individual noodle portions.
And how much would you say like what you made yields, like pasta-wise, like serving size,
This
I guess?
is probably about enough for 5 people.
Okay.
So it's about like a pound and a half.
Okay.
So we're gonna do like kind of a shorter noodle.
Okay.
All right, so we've got these nice thick noodles.
You think it's definitely a difference worth doing when you make your own pasta to like, do it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. You have more control over whether, you know, how al dente your pasta is, or I much prefer making my own pasta.
Okay. And you really, I mean, this shows you don't need all the fancy equipment and stuff like that. You can just do it at home.
Oh, exactly.
But it's sick.
And so we're gonna serve this with a little bit of tenderloin. So this is kind of a shoulder tender. It's gonna be kind of, when you buy a whole tenderloin, you have the little head on it, and there's this little muscle that drapes off to the side. So what we did was we cut it off and then this is what we have. Still has all the same texture and deliciousness of tenderloin. And we're gonna cut that into medallions and sear it when we're done with our noodles. Then after we cook our noodles, we're gonna drain them out, cool them down a little bit, and we're gonna use the pan that we sear our beef in to make like our sauce and saute our noodles together.
Okay.
That way we don't really mess up the kitchen too much. And it's really kind of like a two-pan like pickup.
Is this cut of beef a chef secret or rarely available?
It's ready available.
Okay.
You probably have to ask your butcher for it, but they should have them.
You were saying earlier it's cheaper than most, right?
More inexpensive, yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Just because most people think of it as kind of not really a throwaway, but it's not widely used in a lot of places. Where at our restaurant we use it for a number of things. We use it for like Philly steak sandwiches and stuff where we chop it up really nice and fine and top it with cheese and peppers and mushrooms. So, you know, our restaurant in Cazenovia is like a boutique hotel. It's built in the 1800s. And we have like 23 rooms and 3 restaurants on premise. So we have a fine dining room, we have a pizzeria, you know, so we have so many products that we cross-utilize just to kind of make it more sustainable. So our noodles cook actually very quickly. And they're nice and fluffy and poofy. Yeah, I know both of you are from Kaz originally, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. Grew up going to the Link Lane House for the banquets and stuff like that, and then the tavern downstairs is always fun. And
Oh, yeah.
now we have the pizza shop, so it's a cool spot.
Do you, so like our signature at the Lincoln House is popovers. Do you both enjoy the popovers?
Yes, I mean, I work there now and I still eat them. So they're very good, unique, unlike anything I've had. And
I think after making thousands of them, you know my feelings.
All right, so we'll strain this off. So as you can see, like we have that nice yellow color that I was talking about. All right, so let's get cracking on our beef here. So I'm gonna cut them into medallions just so it cooks a little quicker. So probably about inch and a half thick. I don't like to measure too much for really anything, so that's why I'm not the best baker ever. I don't know if it's my attention span or what. Yep, so I'll hit it with a little bit of pepper, a little bit of our salt, and we'll do a slow, subtle sear.
And then what is the, is it just olive oil or what are you using to sear?
For this, I'm just using olive oil.
Olive oil?
So it's like a good base because when we make our sauce, when we toss our noodles, I'm gonna be adding like sesame oil, soy sauce.
Okay.
We're gonna chop up some garlic and add it all together. So it'll be like a nice beefy flavor that,
100%.
yeah. So when I chop garlic, I like to smash. That way you can kind of chop it a little bit easier without it rolling all over your cutting board. And again, like the scallops, we want to get a good sear on them, so just check them for color, because we're looking for a golden brown.
And what would you say the key to that golden brown is? Because I know that everyone loves that, so what's the way to do it?
It's called Maillard effect. So what it is basically when electrons get supercharged and super excited,
Okay.
there's a chemical reaction with the proteins that it's a transfer, so that leaves that little brown on either side.
All right.
So there'll be a quiz later too, so you have to tell me
Oh, all right.
what Maillard
A
effect.
little bit of homework.
So yeah, so we're looking about that.
Perfect. Smells good.
It's one of my favorite smells. Searing beef. So yeah, so we'll prep our veggies for our pasta. So I like to use just simple things, like a red and green pepper is great, a little bit of onion, and that way it doesn't get overly complicated. So I like to clean out that membrane so you get like a good slice on your pepper. Should we knock off those seeds? Same thing. So I love red peppers just for their subtle sweetness, like it's just exciting to me, makes me happy. Green peppers are good for more of like, almost like an umami flavor. Once they're cooked, they have like a little slight aromatic to them.
Okay.
So we want to cut them nice and thin, so that way we don't need to cook them for a long time.
I like how we're incorporating everything into the same pan to get the flavor and nothing goes to waste kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, how else are you going to really get good beef flavor into a dish, you know?
Yeah.
And plus, the wife won't have to wash too many dishes.
Yeah.
Because she will be mad at him. So white onion, again, like the peppers, we're going to cut good and thin. I've got a little bit of scallions here, or spring onions. Another one of my favorites. You don't have to cook them very long. You kind of add them at the end of the dish so they're still crunchy and oniony and delicious.
Yeah.
So we'll set that off to the side. Check our... Oh yeah. There we are. So I'm going to cook it to rare because we're going to add some more heat to it once we saute our noodles and it rests a little bit. So also going to do a little ginger. So how you peel ginger is I use a spoon.
Okay.
Spoon works so much better and you waste so much less of the ginger. And also by kind of mashing your spoon into it, you're kind of exciting the juices, breaking some cellular walls, so you get super, super ginger flavor. And it's easier to maneuver. And again, we're just going to chop it fine.
Not watching you chop. How many times have you cut yourself?
Oh, I don't know, thousands and thousands of times. But not in a couple years. So eventually you do pick it up after about 30 years of cooking. All right. So our pan's still good and hot. All right, so we're gonna get our pasta. Yeah. That's gonna be awesome, I think. I can tell. So we'll start cook our onions.
And what is it in cooking that really like sings to you in a sense? Because you've been doing it, you said 35 years it took for you to learn not to cut yourself. So how long have you had this passion for?
Geez, you know, I originally was going to school to study viruses because I really found like kind of the microverse, I suppose, not to use a random term, but I like the chemicals and everything of the sciences.
Okay.
And then while I was going to college, I took a job at a pizzeria. And I'm like, holy cow, this is actually fun. The people I work with are fun. And there's a lot of science involved. So, yeah, that's kind of how I ended up. And every day I kind of think of new and weird ways to combine stuff. Like I'll pick an ingredient like the Calabrian chili and I'll use it in everything. Or if I have like a good burger somewhere, like that's what I'll do is I'll like incorporate that idea of burger and what I would do to make it a little better.
Yeah.
And we always keep our customers in mind.
And do you believe that like you can really make anything with anything as long as you know how to do it, right?
Yeah, there's actually a Japanese philosophy that everything can be combined in any order as long as it's done correctly.
Okay.
So I am a firm believer in that because, again, like I said, this new thing that I love is the Calabrian chili. So later on, we're going to be making ice cream like an old school peach melba, which is like a classic French dish, but we're going to add a little bit of Calabrian chilies to our raspberry sauce. So it'll like spice it up a little bit.
Sounds good.
And I named it like I kicked up peach melba. So it's all right. So our veggies are really nice and sweaty. We're looking for a little bit of translucence in the onions.
Okay.
And we'll add our noodles. We'll add some sesame oil.
Yeah, those noodles are unique.
Yeah, you know, I called them dumpling noodles just because I like how thick and fluffy, and you get a little extra texture to them.
Yeah.
So I added our chilies, add a little pepper flakes, little red pepper flakes, just to kind of spice it up a bit. So this is kind of, oddly enough, I was thinking of ways to incorporate like a General Tso sauce in a sense.
Yeah.
So what we're kind of doing is making almost like a General Tso sauce, but using it in a different method.
Okay.
So we're gonna add our spring onions, a little bit of soy sauce, some vinegar. So that's rice wine vinegar.
Okay.
So you use it sparingly. Then when it comes up to a boil, we'll add a little bit of sugar. So what I like to do is I'll add sugar to hot sauces, like as long as they're required to be a little sweet. Because the hot liquid, once you add the sugar, sugar automatically kind of incorporates into it, so you don't have to cook it for as long.
And you pouring the liquids in is essentially deglazing, right?
Yes,
And
so you're picking up all of those flavors from the bottom of the pan from like the cooking vegetables and the searing of the beef.
And that incorporates it like into the rest of the dish?
Yes.
Okay.
What I have here is a little bit of cornstarch, so I'm gonna mix a little more vinegar in here. We're gonna add a little cornstarch to this little bowl. And we're gonna use a little bit of our water from earlier. So we're just gonna make a little tiny slurry. So this is, we use this when we're trying to make gluten-free sauces, which because of the soy sauce, this is not a gluten-free sauce. But it's a good thickener, made from cornstarch and water. So what it does is it forms an oblate, like kind of like a nice formless stuff. So it's like a solid and it's a liquid.
Okay.
Again, science-y. So it's almost instantaneous, the thickness. So you can see how thick and syrupy that is. Then we're gonna incorporate a little bit of this beef in there. All right. So then we'll start working on plating. All right, so as you can see, we got some good veggies, some good texture.
And this is almost like, within the veggie sauce, is almost like a sweet and spicy.
Yeah.
Going
I
with
think the idea was like the General Tso. So almost like I wanted to make like a sweet and sour beefy dish for the most part.
Yeah.
But you know, over the years, I've studied like so many different cuisines. I like to be able to draw back on some of my experiences and combine different foods in that fashion, because again, following that rule that everything can kind of go together. All right, so place the beef in here just nicely. Let everybody have 2 pieces. Then we'll take a spoon and sauce it up a little bit. So as you can smell, like you smell the sweet and sourness and a little bit of spicy.
Yeah. I can definitely feel the peppers hitting the nose as well. And you said there are ways to do this gluten-free.
Yeah, you can use gluten-free soy sauce.
Okay.
I use it at home a lot because I do eat a lot of gluten-free stuff.
Yeah.
Not because of an allergy, just a choice.
Yeah, and I'm sure like vegan-wise, this would be good with like tofu or anything
that'd be
like that.
fantastic
100%.
with a nice tofu.
Yeah.
So we'll garnish with a little bit of Italian long hots. Again, sticking with that Italian theme.
More peppers.
More peppers. For somebody that doesn't like spices, I use a lot of peppers. All right. All right, fellas. Ooh. So yeah, you'll notice that texture of the noodle is like, yeah.
Yeah, unique.
Perfectly cooked.
Yep, should be like a little al dente, little stretch and bounce to it. So yeah, and the beef should be like a good medium rare-ish by now.
Yeah.
Had a good rest to it.
And again, you didn't use a lot with the beef, but going along with the sauce and then the noodles are amazing.
Like I said, it combines a couple
Forget the
different
peppers.
And the peppers. Yeah.
So yeah, and if you notice, we used 2 different types of Italian chilies in like an Asian dish. So it's kind of again
it all
what I was
goes together.
referring to is everything can go together if it's done in the right way. So when we come back, we're going to be working with ice cream, raspberries, and a weird ingredient, rose water. All right, so now it's time to make our dessert. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do like a peach melba, which is like a classic French dessert, but we're gonna kick it up a notch. Again, we're using our Calabrian chilies.
All right.
So it's gonna be nice and
Spicy.
again. All right, so I like using fresh raspberries, right into a hot saute pan. A little bit of sugar. A little bit of water. And we'll just let that reduce for a little bit. Stirring occasionally. So at the same time, so I'm gonna make my peach melba a little different because sometimes you'll just get like fresh clean peaches. Either you can buy canned, which works really well. But I'm gonna actually cook mine with my raspberry syrup. So it gets a little accent of raspberry and some sweetness because a certain time of year, peaches are best. But if they're not super sweet, you can always just cook them with a little bit of sugar. So be generous with the peaches.
And that's gonna eventually cook down and turn into like a jam, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll add a little bit more sugar here. So then while that's cooking, all right, I'm going to show you how we make our ice cream. So I promised rose water. So here we are. So basically it is made with rose hips. So it's not sweet. It's just very, very floral. And like a little tiny bit, like maybe a quarter of a teaspoon is more than enough. A little bit of heavy cream. I've got a little bit of this vanilla right here. Now we're going to go back to our sauce here. Add a little bit of Calabrian chili hot sauce. Just because. All right, so we have our sugar, cream, and vanilla, rose water. Okay, so this is kind of a Wisconsin style ice cream, which is basically it's just we're gonna freeze cream, sugar, and vanilla and flavorings instead of adding like eggs to it, which is like a custard, more of a French style. So we're gonna let that freeze. We're looking pretty good on our sauce here. And our peaches are slowly starting to soften up. So you can see I kind of divided the pan into a raspberry side and a peach side. Because even though we're incorporating the flavors together, we also wanna keep them a little separate. All right, so through the magic of television, I made some ice cream ahead of time. So I can show you a little plate. So I'm a fan of quenelles instead of just an ice cream scoop, but an ice cream scoop is perfectly fine to do. But I just like the little football shape.
How do you make that?
Pretty much you take a scoop of ice cream and 2 spoons and you round out the edges.
Okay.
You make like a nice little football.
What are there perks to that? Is there a reason you do that instead?
I like it for the aesthetics mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to have a little bit more freshness to my raspberry, so I'm going to call it quits here. So I like to serve it kind of hot. I mean, you can use like jam, or you can use whatever, but it's typically just raspberries, like raspberry flavor. And so you'll see that the rose water also adds like a different dynamic to this tasty little dish. Right, a little bit of
Yeah, I can almost smell like the flower smell, and then along with the raspberry.
Oh, yeah.
Strong.
And it'll kind of round out nicely. We'll get a little bit of whipped cream, because everything is better with whipped cream.
Then so you serve a dinner, what type of dinner would you serve this with? Like finishing?
It goes good with just about anything. It's just a nice little sweet treat at the end of a meal. So here, why don't you guys eat it while it's still ice and cream.
All right.
Go. So again, there's like a little bit of Calabrian chili in the raspberry sauce, so it will give you a different dynamic. So kind of a warming and cooling in the same dish with a lot of sweetness and raspberries. And again, it's like a super simple, really fast dish. Easy to put together.
Yeah.
Not a ton of work. That's why it's one of my favorites, and it is an absolute classic. And of course, you can do it with strawberries too, but it won't be necessarily a peach melba because this is the combination it's always been.
Yeah, I think it's very good. You can taste just a little bit of chilies. It adds a little hint of something. And then, yeah, the ice cream's amazing along with the raspberries, very strong and good.
And can you pick up any of that rose water?
Yeah, a little bit. In the aftertaste, you can get a little bit of it.
This is our peach melba dessert, super easy, and then we'll be back with a recap of all of the dishes we cooked today. All right, so let's do a quick recap of our dishes. We've got a seared scallop with a Calabrian chili aioli, fried wontons with a little bit of toasted nori. We made some delicious alkali noodles with some seared tenderloin beef, with some vegetables and more Calabrian chilies. And lastly, let me put the last touch on this, is our picked up peach melba with Calabrian chili, raspberry sauce, poached peaches, and ice cream with vanilla and rose water. I'd definitely like to thank my two friends for showing up and trying the food. I call them the two Matthews. But yeah, it's been great cooking for you. You can follow me at Banch Chair on Facebook, or Chance Bear on Instagram, as well as follow the Linkland House, who's my major sponsor. The Linkland House, we have a Facebook page. Just look up Linkland House Casanova. You'll get beautiful pictures and updates of our specials of the night. All sorts of interesting stories and stuff that goes along with the hotel. And also, I want to thank the Iowa Tribe of Oklahoma, who is another sponsor. I myself am a tribal member. Really, they're doing great things in Oklahoma. A couple casinos, some nice resorts, and they do great work for the community. This is our dish. I'm Chef Chance Bear, and we'll see you next time.